And all right. Welcome everyone to the 35th episode of UBI. Can't believe it's been 35 freaking episodes. But thank you for hanging on with us, listening to us. We really appreciate that. Make sure to reach out to us, send us questions if you want to ask stuff. We're happy to look at it. ubi@gmail.com. Today we have a special episode.
We need to really be more professional. UBI at Gmail. It should be something like
At
something
what?
at ubi.com. Anyway, go ahead.
Nah, they be Aight. They be all the way Aight at Gmail. Oh man, we don't have the infrastructure for all that yet. But yeah, we have a good episode today. We're super excited. We have two guests today. We've got Sharif Bennett and Prince Ace. They have an awesome new business that they're starting up, and they're going to talk to us about it today. It's called Cineblock. Welcome, gentlemen. Do you want to just quickly maybe just tell us a little bit about who you are, and then maybe you can kind of dive into kind of what the business is, starting with whoever wants to start. It's up to y'all.
Okay. All right, I'll go first. My name is Prince. I am the CEO and founder of Cineblock. Just a guy who really enjoys making movies. I made made a movie and was the executive producer, which we premiered in Hollywood in 2019, but could not release it out because of COVID, so all the theaters shut down. So we still have the movie. We're going to be releasing it on Cineblock. And that's kind of how I got started into creating this platform, was working on this movie called Malibu Road, which you can check the trailer out online just with the search. So that's me.
Awesome. And Sharif, how'd you get involved with this?
Well, first off, Manny Lai, thank you for having us. Congratulations, episode 35. I know this one's going to be the best yet.
For sure.
So I got involved in this because I have known Prince since I was about 17 years old. We met in college. Right?
Okay.
And ever since then, he and I had always had discussions about trying to tackle the industry and break into the industry, whether it was as directors, whether it was as screenwriters. So for 20 years, we'd essentially been bouncing ideas off of one another. So about 2 years ago, Prince came to me with this idea. And at first I was a little perplexed by it. I was like, wait, but then as it sunk in, I was like, wait, this makes absolute sense. This is absolutely perfect for what needs to happen in the industry right now. So I act as a chief sales officer for Cineblock, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Did y'all connect over movies? Like that how y'all became friends back in the day?
Definitely. I'd say part of it was just hanging out. We went to a small liberal arts college called Swarthmore outside of Philadelphia. Manny, you live in the region, right there on the right there on the R3 SEPTA line. Shout out Media, Pennsylvania. And so, a lot of times it was just, hanging around. My dorm was adjacent to his. He was literally one of my early mentors when I was at Swarthmore.
Got you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just mutual things, sports, films, music, typical things that, 18 to 22-year-old males talk about, right? So we had a genuine interest, and that's sort of what facilitated our friendship.
Got you. And have you guys, so obviously, Sharif, I know we met you in business school, so we know you've taken like the business route, and Prince, you said you were like an executive producer of this. Are you, Prince, have you been always like kind of out taking this kind of artistic route, or do you have business experience too, or are you just more like, I just want to focus on like producing and stuff?
Great question. So I took the business route originally. So it's this way. I took the business route because, from a familial perspective and from just a societal perspective, business is, paramount, and everybody, respects somebody who's a business person versus somebody who's an artist. Artists typically are downtrodden, and you heard of the starving artist, and people don't look at artists with the same type of like respect until they've actually made it, right? So I took the artist route as a more of a hobby. So I was always I was DJing, I was producing, I had multiple recording studios, and got involved in that more of as a side gig. And but in the business sense, I was really traditional. I worked in real estate as an at first, and then became an asset manager for Chase Bank. Then moved on to Fannie Mae, where I was also an asset manager and assistant vice president. But that is really how I learned about managing properties and assets, and how that could universally be applied to different types of properties, whether it's a film or a piece of real estate or commercial real estate somewhere. So that really is what gave me the foundation and the structure for how I came up with Cineblock.
Got you. So you were like an artist, and then you were like, this ain't gonna work, and then got into business, and then we're like, can I merge the two now that I got the business respect and acumen? How can I merge the two? I think that's
pretty much it.
Yeah. I think that's smart. I mean, obviously, like, all of us, Lai has artistic pursuits. I have artistic pursuits, and it's always a matter of trying to figure out how can I make money off of that, because you know what I mean. Like, you want to do the stuff you're passionate about, but also like you got to create value and all that stuff. So but that seems like a smart way to go about it.
Yeah, Manny, that's actually what led me to business school.
Was it?
I was tired.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It was, think back to that Obama, that the end of the Bush era started that Obama term when the economy completely sunk. I was one of those people who got laid off.
Gotcha.
And I was like, oh, this is the perfect time for me to now, dive 100% into my artistic endeavor. So I was doing stand-up, I was writing scripts, I was, doing improv, all that. And then, it was the Barack Obama era now at this point. So they were handing out unemployment like it was water, man. You just had to be breathing to catch an unemployment check in 2000.
Yeah.
Right? So when that ran out, it was like, oh God, I got to do something now. And I hadn't yet made it in the industry. They tell you need to put in 5 to 7 years of work in the industry before you can expect any sort of like payoff. I had put in 2. And at this point was almost completely broke. So I had to go back to getting a regular job. And after getting that job for a year, it was like, well, I went to Swarthmore. Might as well go to business school now. I might as well. I'll get back to doing something with this in some form or fashion, right? After I do the school thing. And sure enough, a few years after I graduate, Prince just calls me up one day and is like, look, I got this idea. Here's what it is.
Got you. Okay. That's awesome. Because like, it sounds like you two, I didn't realize how deep y'all were into like entertainment, I guess, before you got into this. So it's y'all have the real passion behind it too on the artistic side, which is really cool. And Sharif, you said, so you were doing like comedy and all that stuff, and for like you said, a couple of years after. Got you. That's
in Chicago. Which is basically the epicenter
for like improv
training. So Second City, Improv Olympic. And it's crazy now. Some of the people who I, would see and who studied with, they went on, and some of them have had careers, right? Like real careers, made it onto TV, etc., films. I was not fortunate enough to be one of those people, right? After a few years, I was just like, this just isn't working out. What's that line by Biggie Smalls? Being broke at 30 will give you the chills. That's pretty much it.
You got the chills. Hey, but you still got but the cool thing is you got the skills though. You can't take away that experience, which is killer, because most people would be terrified to do all that stuff. Improv scares me. I'm terrified of that. Really? And but the skills are amazing. I've legitimately thought of taking improv classes to help my stand up, which I think it would.
You should. To me, stand up is harder. It's more thrilling, but simultaneously harder. Right. Yeah,
I can see it because it's just you, right? There's no, so like I like the fact that it's just me in the sense that if things went well, that was all me. But it's at the same time, you also have to take the responsibility if things go badly. That's all you too. Like that's nobody else. It was just you up there.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And the thing about doing stand up, and why it's probably, in my opinion, the hardest performance based art form, is because people can hear a song, and if they like the song, they want to hear it again and again and again. if people listen to a stand-up routine after they've heard it one time, they're generally like, "I've heard this already. I don't want to hear it."
The surprise is gone. The whole point of it is gone.
It's gone. So the demand of having to be new and funny on command all the time is extremely overwhelming. You know, that's why Richard Pryor and Dave Chappelle just said, "Screw this and go to Africa."
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but I love it though. I really do. It's so thrilling. It's but I went like the traditional route first, and then I got my artistic stuff on. So obviously, like I have the day job, and like because you don't make any money. I mean, I'm not doing it for the money.
So talking about not making any money, I mean, it seems like when you are in the art scene, it's either you make it really big or you're struggling. Like there isn't.
There's not like a job that's a middle class like stand-up comedian. That's not a thing. Where you go 401k and stay there for 40 years, get a watch at the end. Like that's not really
that's
in the
true,
arts.
but not that at the same time, there's other opportunities that open up for people when they do stuff like that. Like they might end up being a writer for a show. They might end up doing running a club or being some kind of host. So, there are essentially middle class jobs in the profession. It's just that people don't really talk about that. It's either you make it or you don't. But the reality is like, it's, if it was that way, then it would be just a bunch of artists walking around when in reality, those artists end up becoming professionals and for most part. Otherwise, they quit the business and then just go to the traditional 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, because it is an industry and it is a $1 billion in maybe trillions. Who even knows? Like depending on how you want to. Yeah. So and there are people that run things behind the scenes, people that you've never heard their names, and and oftentimes they're the ones making the real money, right? Like the artists themselves are just kind of like the face. And I mean, I remember I was very surprised this was probably the early 2000s when I found out that musicians actually do not make money off of the albums that they that they release, that really they make their money from when they go on tours or whatever. So you will have this big name person that is broke. I mean, unless they're able to, do other things on the side. So I guess so let's go to the platform itself. So you were saying earlier that so can you talk a little bit about how this got started? And I don't know if I'm preempting anything here, Manny, but
no,
can you talk a little bit about how it got started, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, go ahead, Prince.
And by the way, I mean, talking about a stage ready name, Prince.
That's his DJ name. Prince Ace, is that your real name though?
Are you kidding me? Like with a name like Prince Ace, I mean,
that's my real name.
Yeah. So, your parents expected you to be a DJ. Like they're like, this he's gonna be a DJ.
I was a DJ. So
I know.
I was a DJ. So that makes it easy. So
Cineblock,
so Cineblock really started because of the need of people need to be able to raise money. I mean, if you look at the industry in general in terms of film, it's very, very hard to raise money with the gatekeepers that are in place around the film industry. I mean, if you look at what just happened with Harvey Weinstein, right? This guy was abusing his power. I mean, so if somebody wanted to break in or something, they have to go through this guy. Like, what kind of message does that send? What kind of situation does that create? And it's not a very favorable one for people that are just trying to break in and have to sell their souls. So this basically came about because I wanted to find a way to democratize the system and allow people who don't have insider access to gain some access and gain some resources that would help them make their dream or project a reality. And that was something that I had struggled with in terms of creating the film that I did. It was, financing is probably the most difficult part of it. So other than actually the production part. So that was really the foundation for how this whole thing got started. So, and then from there, I talked to Sharif and Julian in order to make sure that we dotted our I's and crossed our T's as far as the legal part of it and the functional part, to make sure that we covered all the bases to help these budding artists, filmmakers, producers to make their vision become a reality.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty cool.
so
Go ahead.
when you say to help people finance, like, do you have specific types of work that you like? Are these documentaries, movies, certain kind of movie? I mean, like, do you have certain parameters that you set around the kinds of work that you allow on the platform?
Well, no, it's really, so the whole idea is this is content, and it's anything, right? So whether you're creating a TV show, or whether you're creating a independent film or a documentary, this covers all of that. And the idea is to give people in general, like the crowd or the globe, an opportunity to participate in a meaningful way, right? So now, instead of you investing via Warner Brothers or some big conglomerate, that you see a trickle down of those returns. Now you get to directly invest in this TV show with the producer and potentially have a creative input when you're talking to the producer, or a docu series, or a film. It doesn't really matter, because the source material, that's really what you're investing in.
So as you were talking, I guess I was thinking, so do you provide additional support for the artists that are on the platform? I mean, when I say artists, I'm talking about the content producers. So for instance, when they raise money, like, is this a fully integrated platform where you kind of help them with distribution as well, and those kinds of things? Or is it more like, okay, you have a project, I want to raise, I don't know, $100,000, and you raise the $100,000 and you go do whatever you want with it?
So great question. So that depends on the filmmaker, right? Like, if a filmmaker is or a producer is super, experienced, has all the tools that they need, and they don't need us other than a platform for them to manage the money side of things, more power to them. In fact, we encourage that. Let's work for us, right? But for those that need their hand held and they need some assistance with respect to distribution and those other vehicles that to help them monetize their asset, we're going to be able to provide that as well. So we're going to have the modules and apps that will help them to generate income, whether it's distribution or licensing or something else.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in terms of the company itself, do you see are you familiar with Substack or some like it's a writing platform, right?
Medium,
That
right?
Yeah, kind of like Medium, but the goal is they're trying to help writers basically monetize their work. So, like, if you're a writer, you put your work on there, you can charge whatever you want for subscribers or whatnot. So is that how you see? I guess my question is, how do you guys make money?
Well, there's gotcha. Well, there's a variety of ways that we make money. Because remember, films are and content is one of those things that there's a lot of opportunity to license and do all these other things. So when we say we're creating modules, well, if we have our own streaming platform that these content creators can use, well, that's one vehicle, right? If we have our own e-commerce platform that they can use, that's another vehicle. And then even just the actual management of the software. management tool. So
Mhm.
that's not going to be free. Like if you want to, put your project on there, we're not going to let you just, put your project on there for free and, do nothing. There'll be also a component of, a subscription or payment upfront fee for that as well. So there's a lot of verticals that we are able to make money off of. That's why this is so revolutionary, because the industry has been the same for so long, and we're here to disrupt it.
Absolutely. I think what might be useful for the audience who's watching this is to understand sort of what we do and how it works, right? So step one, an independent filmmaker makes their film, right? Which for so many artists out there, you think that once you do that, that the heavy lifting is done, right? That I've made this film, and now the world is going to love it. But in reality, you've made this film, so what? You generally, the path that you went to Sundance Film Festival, you went to Cannes Film Festival, Toronto Film Festival, and you went there, you paid a fee to get it, and you invested $700,000 to make this film. You borrowed, money from your parents, from your friends. You took out loans against your home. You ate ham and cheese sandwiches and noodles for 2 years just to get this done. You know what I mean? You didn't pay any of the actors that was in it. You literally put your blood, sweat, and tears into this film. You get to a film festival and nothing happens, right? You don't get your money back. The film doesn't get picked up. No, nothing. So now you're back to now all of a sudden you have to become a business person, when in all probability you have no training on how to actually monetize this thing that you took so much of your time doing, right? What Cineblock does, Cineblock comes in and says, okay, we will take your film, right? We're going to turn it into a digital asset, meaning we're going to take it using the blockchain, right? We're going to take it, distribute the value of it up via tokens. So think of like a token offering, right? You're trying to raise, say, $500,000. We'll come in, we'll turn it into a digital asset, and then from there, investors, any investor can potentially buy a piece of your film so that you can recoup your funds much more quickly, right? For that filmmaker, you can get back to doing what it is you want to do, which is make movies.
So when you say turn it into digital assets, like we have to be cognizant that there may be people that don't know what that means. So what does that mean? Like, can you break it down? Like,
So digital asset essentially means that your whatever your rights and ownership of a particular, maybe a physical asset, is represented digitally now. So whether it's the contracts, whether it's whatever options or features around that particular physical asset or digital asset, that is what is going to be represented on this platform. So if it's a movie, now that movie is essentially been has a company or business has been created around that. And so now that movie itself becomes something that you can trade on, you can buy and sell, but it has to be created in a certain way that facilitates that. And that is essentially what we do with this platform. Is we facilitate creating this into a functional vehicle for people to be able to participate in a meaningful way. So whether it's as an investor or in some other fashion.
So
that makes sense.
Okay, got you. So the way I'm thinking about it is like you said the movie is like a company. So it's like buying stock in Apple, right? Like the movie is Apple in that situation. So the person puts, buys $500 worth of stock in this movie. What does that money go to? If I'm investing $500 in Malibu Road, where's my money going to, and like how do I see a return on that?
Okay, so that depends on the film. Again, this all depends on the filmmaker and the producers. They're the ones who are going to determine what those funds are allocated to and how they're used. And that's going to be all up front essentially in the contract. So you're going to give a review and say, oh, okay, now I'm getting 10% of this film, and it is the money that I have done because this particular movie is already at post-production, meaning it's already been made, and it just needs to go to distribution. So the money that I'm contributing per the contract says this is going all to marketing and promotion. Okay, well now you know what your portion is contributing to, but also that portion of what you've contributed also is giving you a certain amount of ownership and rights to that film. So let's say that still is 10%. So now 10% of anything that comes in from in terms of theatrical exhibition or from licensing, from streaming or whatever distribution channels that has been put out on, including the ones that we might have offered, you're going to be seeing returns like royalties because you're now you're the first layer. You're going to be receiving a return based off of that ownership amount that you and percentage that you've bought in.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you're basically you're buying into the specific projects themselves. So I could be an artist that has, for instance, say 5 projects on your platform, right? And
Mm-hmm.
each project would have, people can buy into each of the projects. So I guess I'm wondering, do you let artists, I mean, I don't, maybe not artists, but creators, maybe that's the better term. Do you let them uh just put a piece of their projects on the platform, or is it going to be exclusive on the platform? So what I mean by that is, what you're saying is, for instance, somebody could come in and say, hey, I want to raise $100,000 for marketing. The film is already done. So if they raise that 100K, presumably, it seems to me that will probably be just a part of the project because some costs already went into it, before, right? So, so are they raising that 100K for you to just be 10% of the total? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. But it's again, that is all dependent on the filmmaker. They are the ones who like. It's like me owning I have a car, and and I'm renting out a space, on that car for somebody else to come and put a billboard on it or whatever. Like I still own the vehicle. I still own the rights to the vehicle, but now that person has a right to a certain space on that vehicle to do what they, whether it's marketing or promotion or whatever it is, right? So that's really kind of how you gotta sort of break this down. Is that as a filmmaker, I get to decide how much I want to offer up, and that's what Sharif was mentioning is an offering, because you're the one who's going to dictate the specifics around that offering. Whether it's, hey, you're getting access to exclusively licensing, right? So anything we sell, like a T-shirt or whatever, that is what this offering is for. I still retain everything else on this as far as the ownership and revenue that comes from it, but you're getting exclusive licensing. Another person might say, hey, you get a piece of anything that's involved with this film, including the IP. So it depends on the platform, the creators, the filmmakers' desire, what they want to offer. And obviously, the more you offer, the more attractive that's going to be to an investor versus the less you offer, right? So that's kind of how the breakdown occurs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so taking it a step further. So, how does exit work here? Like, do you manage that process as well? Like, or yeah,
no,
go ahead.
We're not going to manage the exit processes. Again, that's the filmmaker's domain. We're just a medium for them. We're an interface between them and the investor. So they're the ones who are going to say, well, you know what? Warner Brothers just called us up and they want to buy everything for this. Well, if that's the case, then whoever the investors are going to receive whatever portion of that ownership or that sale that they're entitled to. So that's completely up to the filmmaker and stuff. So, and then another exit might be on the investor side, because they're going to have to hold this for a year. But after a year, they're like, oh, you know what? Joe Schmo over here wants to buy a piece of this film, into this film. I have these tokens that I've been owning for a year. I'm going to go ahead and sell it to them because I got a new Tesla or a new Lexus that I want to buy instead with this money. Well, you've already been receiving royalties and returns and payments from that. So maybe you've gotten enough out of that, including your basis from your investment, that you're willing to liquidate and move on. So our platform will assist with that, but we're not going to be the ones that are determined ultimately when you exit.
Gotcha. So like for the creators, like you were saying earlier, they typically don't have the business acumen. So like when they, you were saying a lot of stuff is up to them on your platform. Do you have the resources for them to figure out things like if this person just does the licensing part, they only get, they only get the revenue from the licensing?
Yeah, that will be smart contract driven. That's the beauty of the blockchain, is that we can program all these tokens to do these things in an automated fashion to where the filmmaker doesn't have to think about all that. It'll already be programmed in that, hey, whenever the money comes in from licensing, it's automatically going to be paying those people out immediately. They don't have to sit there and dawdle and dwiddle with all the numbers. So all the accounting, a lot of the accounting heavy lifting is taken out because, hey, like I'm going to focus on making a film. I've already decided on how much of this pie that each person is going to get. And this platform, which is based on blockchain technology, offers smart contracts that distribute out the funds or revenue accordingly.
Now you said smart contracts. Are those? I'm not familiar with that term. I mean, I know the word smart and I know what the word contracts means, but like, is that like a specific?
So that's just essentially an algorithm, right? So
just write smart on your cell phone. So that's what you got to do.
Well, you guys are smart guys, so I figure you'll be able to pick it up. I mean, Darden is a business school, is it not? I just try to remember. Is that right?
It is.
Gotcha. So essentially, these are just contracts that are algorithms that are created out of contracts, right? They're just saying like, oh, okay, we're locking in that you're getting 10%. We have a contract, whether it's DocuSign or a physical contract that says that. So now we just program that in this token or this function that it will automatically execute, and we don't need to go back and forth and physically do it anymore. The smart contract is literally the algorithm executing
what the contract says.
What the contract says, whether it's legal or financial.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what Prince just talked about right there, I think are two additional value drivers of the platform itself, right? So the first one, when we think about that goes to a content creator that we think of is like, oh, I'll get my money back quicker. Cool, I can just do this finance and crowdsource getting my money back. But additionally, what the platform does is it allows, it's transparent, right? Contracts are being sent out to every potential investor. And there's accuracy, there's actual accounting behind it, right? It's not this elongated process, right, that the Hollywood industry sort of has had for so long. We're coming in and saying that we can take a process that took months before in terms of not only getting your money back, but generating contracts, going through legal teams, et cetera, and we can whittle that down into a much more easy to understand, fluid manner, not just between the content creator and the company itself, but between the investor, the content creator, and the company itself, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
The speed and transparency.
Gotcha. That's what's up. Now, are you guys? We keep mentioning creator, and I know it's Cineblock is what it's called, but are you guys thinking about, doing other types of content like I don't know, comedy specials? Just throwing something out there. I'm just,
The answer is yes. Like eventually, right? So films will be sort of the films will be the first sort of use case that we do. But the reality is that this platform and this technology is universally applicable across the board for anyone trying to do crowdsourcing for a particular project, right? So if you want to say, you know what, I'm gonna do a comedy special. I don't need Netflix. I'll do this myself, right? I'm gonna do a 1 hour Manny and Lai comedy special right here in Philly. Come see me, right?
Manny,
You know, you can do it
You're acting like Netflix asked you to do a special. Like, I don't need Netflix.
I don't need y'all. I don't need y'all.
I don't need
Like, we don't even know who you are, actually. So that's.
You can do that, right? If you, I mean, this is applicable to any person.
No, but like people like, you know, really do that though. Like people are starting to like produce their own stuff. So that would be that, you know, but this would be another avenue. I'm thinking of music too, like, you know, anything. I mean, you know, like, and I'm thinking, so like for the content creator,
It could.
like, sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was gonna say. So when you think of like music and certain stuff, it becomes more difficult a little bit because I mean anybody can make make music, right? It's with $10 you can have you can make a song, right?
Right.
So raising funds becomes kind of an I don't want to say arbitrary, but it becomes not really a huge factor for a musician to raise funds, like unless they're trying to get their song out there.
Yeah.
Which again, it's so easy to get music out and to showcase music versus a film or a comedy special or something of that nature. That requires a lot more heavy lifting. I mean, to get financially speaking.
Right.
And just organizationally, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, whether you're talking about contracts with actors, crew, or whatever, those are heavy lifting scenarios that a typical musician isn't going to necessarily have to do. But not to say that that's not possible. Like maybe you want a really great songwriter involved in your project, and that person's going to cost X amount of dollars. Well, maybe that you don't want to offer up that money to them, but you want to offer up an equity stake in the song. So there are use cases there, but the film and cinematic and episodic production space is probably the best use case at this stage of the game.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, anyone can just throw something on SoundCloud. It's not that hard, and they can get discovered that way. Versus like a film, the type of resources you need for that is a lot, and very difficult. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, if someone is trying to invest in a film on your platform, are you allowing? I'm assuming you are allowing content creators to show their film, or if I'm investing, I want to see the film. So how does that work? Is it just the content creators just here, check this whole film out here, before you decide to invest?
So you'll have a variety of options. So again, it depends on what stage that you're in the creative process, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've already reached post-production and you want to be able to showcase a screener, well, you can have a screener with a code, obviously a password that allows their investors to go in and take a look-see. You might not want to show the entire film, but you might want to show pieces of it that they'll be able to that they'll be able to watch. Of course, trailer, storyboard, script, those types of things are most important. The actual finished product, is obviously the best case scenario, but you don't necessarily need to have the finished product in order for this to be viable for an investor, right? So if they look at the storyboard, they look at the cast, they look at the script, they look at the trailer, and they're moved, well, that's likely they would probably think, oh, that's probably going to move to somebody else. So then they can assess how much value they can that they want to attribute to the project.
Gotcha.
Manny, you brought up a point which is very important, right? You're like, wait, how do I see this film if I'm going to sort of invest in it, right? So that is actually phase 2 of the Cineblock platform, right?
Okay.
We will have a streaming service attached to our organization, right? So the plethora of these independent films upon completion will be available in the same way that you have a Netflix subscription or a Hulu subscription, et cetera. You'll be able to go on, watch a slew of these independent films. And if you like it, say, oh my God, man, I really like that film. It just came out. Let me find out a little bit more about this director. Are they having a token offering that I can potentially invest in because I like this movie that much?
Mm-hmm.
If you can literally, right from your couch, you'll be able to click a few buttons and then boom, immediately become an investor. So instead of just being a critic of films, right? Because think back, like in our day, right? You know, if you wanted to be artsy, the thing was, is like, oh, this guy knows everything about, you know, movies. He knows everything, right? Ask him if this film is good. Well, we're taking that a step further now and saying, well, instead of just talking about whether a film is good, you can actually invest. You know, the old saying, "Put your money where your mouth is." Well, put your money where your movie is. Man, right? Is another way to do it, right? So the consumer can now become the investor. The critiquer can now become the investor. And so I'm very, very excited about that next phase of Cineblock as well. So essentially picture it as being Netflix meets Kickstarter meets Robinhood, all wrapped into one. That's what Cineblock will become.
Got you. Okay. So I'm at home, I have a subscription, you know, $8 a month or whatever. I can watch all these different movies, and if I really like it, I can invest in it. Is that right? Okay.
That's exactly what you can do.
Got you.
Who would you say your competitors are out there? I was thinking as you were describing, like, okay, is this Kickstarter for movies? But it seems like the way you described it, probably.
Yeah, I don't think there's personally any organization that fills all of the niches that we do, right? So obviously, like, so in terms of streaming content, there's your Netflix, there's your Hulus, there's your Amazons, etc. Right? From an investment standpoint, there's your Robinhoods, right? And then there's other organizations who are now understanding the beauty of what blockchain can do and investing in films. I don't think there's any other platform out there that combines all of this under the umbrella that we do, right? So everyone loves to say this, but it's true. No, we're a unicorn. That's really.
And you know, just to bring it back a little bit, but yeah, like he said, there are companies that are trying it. Again, this is a new space. Nobody has. If it wasn't, you would have already heard about it. Like, you would have already been like, oh, well, I'm already going to be investing in the next Star Wars or the next Avengers or next big film. You would have already heard about it, because this space is literally, it's nascent. It is just, I mean, crypto is just starting to bloom, and all these other parts of this new Web 3.0 are starting to bloom. So this is really just a unique opportunity where we're pioneering, along with some other people that aren't really, again, they haven't established themselves, they haven't created anything yet, but the space is being developed. And I would say right now, people use Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, but those are, except for Indiegogo, those aren't designed specifically for films. They have films, and they do a lot of work with films and in that space, but it's not specifically designed for that. And it's a donation site. So once you put your money into the well, it doesn't ever come, that well doesn't fill up and come back to you. This is an opportunity for you to get something back and have that, and even potentially hold on to it for life and say, hey, you know what, son, daughter, family, heir, you get to take this this thing that became a huge sensation, like a Blair Witch Project, right? Which was made for like $50,000. If you had 10% of Blair Witch, $5,000, it made like $400 million worldwide. That's a pretty good investment. So I'm just saying that would be, and you would be able to carry that on and into the future for your company. They would be able to hold that asset as well.
So, so I guess maybe this is the last question for me. So just stepping out of Cineblock a little bit, why do you think the film industry, just in general, has lagged behind a little bit in this, in this space? Because it would seem to me that given the capital requirements it takes to make these kinds of projects, that someone would have thought about figuring out a way to get the public to invest in projects, to fundraise and all of that stuff. Like, but it just seems like, I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe there is an incentive to have the gatekeepers just be whatever. But yeah, is that just it?
That's it. I mean, if you're a guy, and Harvey Weinstein, I hate using this as an example, but he's a guy that is at the pinnacle of power in that industry and was abusing it. And this is really
this is really showcases what has been going on, because everybody's heard horror stories about the film industry for decades, and not, for the last century. Um, this is really because they wanted it that way. I mean, if you're, these people, they want to be able to control the stars. They want to be able to control the content. They want to be able to tell the creators what they're creating and how they're creating it. And that's a very, powerful position that not a lot of people are going to want to just relinquish that power. And really, the other part about it is the technology really hadn't caught up yet, right? So before, you had banks, you had people with a massive amounts of wealth that were able to fund this before, and there was not really a technology that allowed people to get involved with things of this nature, especially the financial requirements and the accounting requirements and the technological requirements that would have had to do this would have made it very expensive for the average investor to invest $100 or $500. Well, we're looking for $1 million. So unless it has to be, the juice has to be worth the squeeze for the person, the investor, and for the content creator as well. So I think that was really what's happening here is a convergence of technology along with demand. Because now too, there's so much. The equipment is so cheap. Like the ability for somebody to make a film and not have a $200,000 camera, that is something that's really a big part of it. And now social media, now you can access actors and actresses or people way easier. So that technology, along with the opportunity, has created this environment for us to finally be able to disrupt this multi-trillion-dollar industry. Because if you think about it, everybody looks for internet is 80% video. 80% if the video traffic is internet traffic is video. That means that everybody is watching this stuff. Like, everybody is watching content. Everybody is participating. And if you're not, taking care of your family or doing whatever, you're probably watching TV. You're probably watching a show. Entertainment is pretty much how everybody really lives they want to live for entertainment because nobody wants to be bored. So that's really, kind of an overview of what, the idea is about around this and why there's such a huge market that will be developed from this.
As you were given that great answer, I was thinking you all should just get Shonda Rhimes to do our next project on here.
You guys have a number. Tell her to call me. Right, I'm really
yeah. I've got a number. I'll tell her.
Yeah, just text her real quick. We got her in the group chat. We'll text her real quick. But
and with that being said, one of the things we also want to highlight here is it's one thing to talk about this, right? To say like, oh, we've got this platform, do blah 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 blah. But we are actually putting this to use, and in October we'll be tokenizing and having an offering for our first film, which Prince is a producer on, called Malibu Road. So that's happening in October, which is really going to showcase the viability of this platform.
Got you.
Great.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
It's coming up. You want to talk about the movie a little bit? Quick 30-second pitch on it.
Go. Yeah. Let us. Yeah. I watched the trailer. But let us know like what. Yeah. Give us a 30-second pitch so the audience knows.
Gotcha. So the movie is about some Los Angelinos that head to a party, and essentially they get the drinks on a New Year's party, and the drinks get spiked with LSD. This started out in the 60s, and it's based off of Project MK Ultra, which was a mind control experiments and clinical trials that the government was doing on the population at large. So this takes one of those professors that was a doctor that was involved in that, and along with his essentially his love interest, and we go through a night in their lives, which this is actually based on a true story, based on real events. So go through a night in their lives, and we see essentially, all heck breaks loose when things get a little bit out of hand. So it takes you on a very surreal journey.
Got you. How long did it take to create this movie and have it produced?
The movie itself took about. That's the thing, right? So the movie itself took about I'd say about a solid year to make. But when you're talking about all that production and stuff, and then getting things going, it took us a solid 4 years to get to the
Mhm.
point of producing. But again, this was my first major project doing it independently, and again, the fundraising and the logistics around a lot of this stuff is a lot more difficult than people tend to realize. So, uh, yeah, but it was a great experience, and I would definitely recommend it for somebody who wants to really do something special.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so for everyone, you can potentially in the first film that's going to be tokenized on the Cineblock platform, right? Like when Prince was talking about, when we talk about asset creation and legacy, something to pass down from, potentially one generation to the next. Well, think about as we move forward with this, right? And what the upside is potentially for the first film that's been tokenized on this platform and what that looks like. Think of what this could potentially become, right? And so we'll be doing that in October. Please visit our website, Cineblock Info, to sign up for our newsletter so you guys can find out more info about this film and the token offering that's happening.
Nice. Yeah, I checked it out, and yeah, definitely. If you're out there, check it out. Check out Malibu Road, the trailer. Can they check out the trailer online? Is that on?
Yeah, the trailer's online.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
has
That's
already
right. That's right.
probably 10 million views.
Nice.
And as it's you can go on the IMDb page and see, read up on it as well. So it's a real movie. It was already rated by MPAA, so it's has a soft R rating. It's really something. It's a thriller.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting. I mean, we definitely look forward to seeing where this goes, and it's always nice to see two young brothers, doing something like this and creating space for people to create, and giving a space for people to also be involved in their entertainment and perhaps make money off of it. So. It sounds like a really cool opportunity, and very innovative. So, hats off to y'all for doing this, and all the listeners out there. Like, definitely check it out. We'll be posting it on social media and stuff, like the episode. And I know y'all are dealing with marketing and stuff, and just trying to get it out there. I know it can be tough, but it's I think it's a worth.
So for that, you saying that, Cineblock.info. Anybody can sign up there, get updates. You can see the trailer on that site. You can learn about the platform on that site. So you can feel free to go on there and really do your research.
All right.
Awesome, man. Well, I think y'all have anything else you want to say? Need to plug?
Any last words?
No, big thanks, man. This is the first podcast we've done, so this is a part of history.
Nice. We're happy to be the first.
Yeah,
you guys are great.
sure.
We really appreciated having y'all. We're always happy to support, get people making these types of things and creating cool things. And so we're definitely happy to help in any way.
Absolutely. Let's turn our going into Swarthmore and Darden into something worth a damn.
Right. Yeah. All that money.
all that money, all that effort, all those
that time.
All those years, Chad. All right.
Yeah. I have a feeling we'll make something out of it. Between the four of us, somebody's got to make it. So. I don't know if it will be me, but one of us has got to make it. The odds are in our favor, I think. But yeah, no, that's great. And for all the listeners, thanks for listening. And we'll be back. Before you know it, but until then, y'all be aight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we aight.